Good morning. We're indoors today because it is so windy outside. So I decided to talk to you about getting close to God, because in these times we're not coming close together to each other, but on our own we can come close to God. And it made me think about this book by Gary Thomas called Sacred Pathways. And he has discerned that there are 10 different ways that different people get close to God. And I will mention those in a moment after I read the scriptures. Today, I want to read from Isaiah 55. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their way and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them return to the Lord, that he may have mercy on them, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return there until they have watered the earth, making it bring forth and sprout, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose, and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. For you shall go out in joy, and be led back in peace, and the mountains and the hills before you shall burst in song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Instead of the thorn shall come up the cypress, instead of the brier shall come up the myrtle, and it shall be to the Lord for a memorial, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. Call upon the Lord while he is near. Well, you might not always feel close to God. It might feel more like the psalm says, my ways are higher than your ways, as high as the heavens are above the earth. And yet, Jesus came to the earth and also gave us his Spirit so that we can know we can be close to God. And this psalm reflects one of the ways that I feel close to God, and that's through nature. I'm just going to tell you the 10 ways that you can feel close to God according to the author Gary Thomas. And I'm going to show you these on my video also in case you want to maybe pause the video and look at these and write them down, or just take a little screenshot. Okay? There they are. Now, if you can't read that, the 9 pathways, not 10, are naturalists who love God out of doors, sensates who love God with the senses, traditionalists who love God through ritual and symbol, ascetics who love God in solitude and simplicity, activists who love God through confrontation, caregivers who love God by loving others, enthusiasts who love God with mystery and celebration, contemplatives who love God through adoration, and finally, intellectuals who love God with the mind. And since one of my pathways to God is loving God out of doors, I'm just going to share that part with you because I have a feeling there are a lot of you who are watching this who feel closer to God outdoors. So I'll just read a little bit about it for you. Naturalists would prefer to leave any building, however beautiful or austere, to pray to God beside a river. Leave the books behind. Forget the demonstrations. Just let them take a walk through the woods, mountains, or open meadows. These Christians believe that nature clearly proclaims God is. They may learn more from watching an ant colony or looking at a peaceful lake than from reading a book or listening to a sermon, though they may find fulfilling thoughts from the parables of Christ, which are based on nature, or the Psalms. Well, I do think that this is one of my spiritual pathways, because when I go outside, I feel close to God almost instantly. and I see things that remind me of God or that are metaphors about something about faith. But most of the time, I'm not thinking about lessons I can glean from it or use in a sermon. I'm just appreciating what God has made, and that God has designed each one of these creatures and plants so that it will simply exist, that there's a whole ecosystem that supports it, and that somehow the geese know to fly south for winter, and the trees know how to bud and bloom in the spring. Everything just knows how to be what it's meant to be. And that bigger awareness helps me to remember to simply be who God means me to be. But it also just makes me feel thankful. One of the poets that I love, who spent her whole life outdoors with a pencil and a pad of paper, is Mary Oliver. And she, in her poetry book called Thirst, especially writes poems about her connection with God through nature. This one is called Praying. It's not very long. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention. Then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. Before we finish, I want to show you why I can sit here at my place where I have my quiet time every morning and be fed by nature. Because this room where I am has doors all the way around it. And what I see directly opposite my chair is this huge tree in our common backyard. It's not actually in our yard, but it's a huge elm tree. And I have to tell you that that elm tree has calmed me down many times when I'm troubled by something. How can a tree do that? Well, I just tell you that just staring at it and seeing that it's steady and it's rooted and it reaches up into the sky and into the air for sunlight and for the carbon dioxide it needs to grow and flourish. And it's simply just doing all that automatically year after year after year. And if that doesn't calm you down, I don't know what does. But that's what a naturalist would say. I'm going to show you the other aspects of these sacred pathways in coming weeks. But for today, if you're a naturalist, get outside and walk and breathe the fresh air and give thanks to God.